Hello, this is Margaret Adams, Assistant Superintendent for the Melrose Public Schools. In this presentation, we'll talk about using praise to build our children's character and increase their resiliency. One of the things to think about as we go through this presentation is not to feel bad. Most of us as parents weren't given books to learn how to be a parent. We've done the best we can. Given my own experience, the good news is it's easy to fix. That beginning to use some of these strategies immediately, you can undo some of the things that we've done. Our objective today is to learn how to use praise as parents to build resilient and successful children. Think about these messages about success. You learn that so quickly. You're so smart. Look at that drawing, Martha. Is he the next Picasso or what? You're so brilliant. You got an A without even studying. If you're like most parents, you hear these as supportive messages that build up our children's self-esteem. Looking at those messages a little more closely, see if you can hear another message. It's the one our children really hear. If I don't learn something really quickly, I may not be smart. I shouldn't try drawing anything really challenging or anything that will push me, because then they won't see me as a Picasso. I better quit studying, not spend time studying, so they won't think I'm brilliant. In order to be brilliant, you don't study. I'm going to share with you some research done by Carol Dweck. In her research, she worked with 400 fifth graders in the New York public schools. The fifth graders were divided into two groups. At first, in the first round, there are several rounds in this research, the students were given a nonverbal IQ test consisting of a series of puzzles. The puzzles were easy. The researchers knew the children would do fairly well on these puzzles. Once the children finished the test, the researchers told each student their score. Then, there were two groups. The 400 fifth graders were divided into two groups. One group was praised for their intelligence. They were told, "You must be smart at this." The other groups were praised for their effort. "You must have worked really hard." Students were given a choice in the second round. Remember, we have those two groups. One group who was praised for their intelligence, and one group that was praised for their effort. The groups were given a choice, all of the students given a choice. One choice was a test that would be more difficult than the first. But the researchers told the kids that they'd learn a lot from attempting the puzzles. The other choice was an easy test, just like the first. So the students had two choices, a more difficult one, where they'd learn a lot, or an easy one, just like the first. So what do you think? Which choice did each of these groups make? Which choice did those students praised for their effort make? Did they choose the easy test or the hard test? Which choice did those praised for their intelligence make? Did they choose the easy test or the hard test? What happened? Though that group praised for their effort, given one line of praise, 90% chose the harder set of puzzles. The group praised for their intelligence, a majority chose the easy test, just from one line of praise. They were told, you must be really smart at this. The smart kids took the cop-out. Why does this matter? We want our children to take on challenges. The challenges that will help them learn, help them to grow as learners. Taking the easy route won't challenge them, won't force them to consider new ideas and new perspectives. Why did this happen? Carol Dweck, the author of the research, said when we praise children for their intelligence, we tell them that this is the name of the game. Look smart, don't risk making mistakes. And that's what the 5th graders had done. They chose not to look smart and avoid the risk of being embarrassed. They chose the easy test because they thought being smart meant not taking risks, not making mistakes. The research continued. In the 3rd round, the test was really difficult, designed for 2 years ahead of their grade level. When the test was given, predictably, everyone failed the test. Remember, our 400 5th graders are divided into 2 groups. How do you think the kids who were praised for their effort reacted? They were given that one line of praise, you must have worked really hard at this. How did they react? How did the kids praised for their intelligence react? Remember, they were given one line of praise. You must have been really smart. What happened? Those praised for their effort on the first test assumed they simply hadn't focused hard enough on this test. They got very involved, willing to try every solution to the problem. They worked hard. They tried, they learned, and tried to take on the challenge. Many of them remarked unprovoked, "This is my favorite test." Imagine a test designed 2 years above where you are, designed for you to fail, and you say, "This is my favorite test." In the 3rd round, those who were praised for their smarts didn't have the same reaction. They assumed their failure was evidence they weren't really smart at all. The researchers remarked that it was hard to watch those children take the test. They could see the strain, they could see the sweating, they could see how miserable the students were. Same test, 5th graders in New York, different reactions. There's a 4th round to Dweck's research. They gave all the 5th graders a final round of tests that were engineered to be as easy as the first round. What do you think? How did the kids who were praised for their effort do on the test? How did the kids praised for their intelligence do on the test? What happened? In this 4th round, those who had been praised for their effort significantly improved on their first score by about 30%. So just by the fact of one line of praise that focused on their effort, their score improved 30%. Those who'd been told they were smart did worse. Remember, this is that easy test than they had at the very beginning by about 20%. Why did this happen? Carol Dweck explains, emphasizing effort gives our children a variable they can control. They can come to see themselves as in control of their success. I can control how much effort I put into something. Emphasizing the intelligence takes it out of our children's control, and it provides a recipe, does not provide a recipe for how you respond when things fail, when things are hard. I don't know what to do because I may not be smart enough for this task or to complete this task. In follow-up interviews, Dweck discovered that those who think that innate intelligence is the key to success begin to discount the importance of effort. I'm smart, the kid's reasoning goes. I don't need to put out effort. Expending effort means being stigmatized. It's proof you can't cut it on your natural gifts. We know also from researchers that children over the age of 7 can tell if you really mean what you say when you praise them. So the sincerity of our praise matters. So when we say they did a good job on something, and we know they didn't do a good job, they got a failing grade on an exam, or they didn't play as well as they lost the soccer game and they didn't play as well as they needed to, they know it isn't sincere. And by the age of 7, they can tell we're lying to them. So sincerity matters. This psychologist, Meyer, a pioneer in the field, conducted a series of studies where children watched other students receive praise. By the age of 12, they found that children believe that earning praise from a teacher is not a sign you did well. It's actually a sign you lack ability, and the teacher thinks you need extra encouragement. And teens, Meyer found, discounted praise to such an extent that they believed a teacher's criticism, not praise at all, conveyed a belief on that teacher's part in a student's ability to get better, to students' overall abilities. Again, that sincerity of praise really matters. Our students, our children know when we're not being sincere. Is too much praise bad? This is that idea of persistence and perseverance. Do we want children, our children, when faced with challenges, when things get hard, which learning is hard, it takes work, it takes effort, do we want them to believe in their abilities to persevere? A firm belief, perseverance, a firm belief that the way to bounce back from failure is to work harder. Research says too much praise is bad. A person who grows up getting too frequent rewards will not have persistence because they'll quit when those rewards disappear. So it's not that it's no praise, but it's the right kind of praise. It's the praise Dweck gave to the 5th graders in that research study, to praise the effort that children put into their work, put into improvement. So we want our praise to praise effort. You worked very hard on those spelling words last night, and thus you did well on the test. We want our praise to be as specific as possible, to really highlight the strategy that was used. Instead of saying you're such a good baseball player, focus on the strategies that made the child do better in the game. You hit the ball really hard today. Focus on the processes used to do well on something. You practice your words all week long, and you got 100% on your spelling test. It's because you practice that you had that end result. Be genuine. Praise should always be genuine. Kids have a way of knowing when your praise is sincere and you lose trust. Worse yet, they become insecure because they don't believe your positive words, and they find difficulty in telling the difference between when you really mean it and when you don't. We want our children to trust us, so mean what you say. We also want to encourage new activities. We want children to feel what it's like to be challenged, to try hard, to not have it come easily at first, but feel how they get better as they practice and put more effort and time. Thus, we want to encourage new activities and praise kids for trying new things, like learning to bike ride or tie their shoelaces, and for not being afraid to make mistakes. A challenge for us as society and for our own children is to embrace failure, see failure as a learning opportunity. And Carol Dweck talks about that piece as a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. In a growth mindset, we see failure, mistakes, as an opportunity to learn. Say, what happened? What can I learn from this? And how can I be better? In a fixed mindset, we see failure and go inside of ourselves, are not able to persevere, say, oh, awful, I'm an awful person, I'm not smart enough, I'll never be smart enough. We obviously want our children to be of a growth mindset. They will experience failure in their life. They will experience challenges, and we want them to persevere, be resilient, and see those challenges as opportunities for their own learning and growth. So let's look at this scenario. 9-year-old Elizabeth was on her way to her first gymnastics meet. She's lanky, flexible, energetic. She's just the right physical type for gymnastics, and she loves it. Of course, she's really a little nervous about competing, but she's good at gymnastics, and she feels confident of doing well. She'd even thought about the perfect place in her room to hang the ribbon she would win. In the first event, the floor exercises, Elizabeth goes first. Although she did a nice job, the scoring changed after the first few girls, and she lost. Elizabeth also did well in the other events, but not well enough to win. By the end of the evening, she had received no ribbons and was devastated. What would you do if you were Elizabeth's parents? Tell Elizabeth you thought she was the best? Tell her she was robbed of a ribbon that was rightfully hers? Reassure her that gymnastics is not that important. Tell her she has the ability and she'll surely win next time. Tell her she didn't deserve to win. The first, you thought she was the best, is truly insincere. She wasn't the best. You know it. She doesn't know it. This offers her no recipe of how to recover or how to improve. The second, she was robbed. Places blame on others, when the fact was it was mostly her performance, not the judges. Do we want her to grow up to blame others? Say it's all their fault? The third, reassure her that gymnastics doesn't really matter. Teaches her to devalue something if she doesn't do it well or right away. If it doesn't come easily for her. The fourth, she adds the ability. This may be the most dangerous message of all. Does ability automatically take you where you want to go? If Elizabeth didn't win this meet, why would she win the next one? or the next one after that, she might as well give up. The last option, tell her she didn't deserve to win, seems hard-hearted under the circumstances, and of course you wouldn't say quite that way, but it's the message that embraces failure. You weren't the best this time. You weren't ready to be the winner. How would you like to improve to get better? What are the strategies that you can use to improve your score and your standing for the next competition? I find it easy and easier at times, instead of giving that hard-hearted feedback in the last scenario, to ask questions and to engage my children in a conversation about what helped them, what mistakes, what strategies, and to talk to them about what's worked for me. So as well as asking these questions of them, I also would share my own responses as part of my day, my work day. So I might ask my children, instead of saying, "What did you do in school today?" tell me the hardest part of your day. And after asking that question, or if I don't quite get an answer, the hardest part of my day was, and model back something that was challenging. And what did you learn from that hardest part? And I'll model back what I learned from that, and what I might try next time. I might ask my children, what mistakes did you make today? And what did you learn from it? After something goes well, what strategy helped you win the game or get an A on the test? And when things don't go well, they lost the game, or they failed, they didn't get the score they expected, what can you learn from those results? What can you learn from losing the game? What can you learn from that failing grade? And how can you improve for next time? What will be your action steps? What will be your plan to continue to improve? One of the ways we can embrace failure and share this idea of exerting effort is to share stories. The stories of others who have exerted great effort, failed, and continued to place effort and to persevere. Thomas Edison is one of those. Thomas Edison's teachers said he was too stupid to learn anything. He was fired from his first 2 jobs for being non-productive. As an inventor, Edison made 1,000 unsuccessful attempts at inventing the light bulb. When a reporter asked, how did it feel to fail 1,000 times? Edison replied, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention within 1,000 steps. So you can see Thomas Edison had a growth mindset. Each failure of the light bulb led him to another attempt, and at each attempt he tried to learn from the last to improve his thinking and his process, and finally his invention. Walt Disney was fired by a newspaper editor because he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. He went bankrupt several times before he built Disneyland. In fact, the proposed park was rejected by the city of Anaheim on the grounds that it would only attract riffraff. Abraham Lincoln. As a young man, Abraham Lincoln went to war, a captain, and he returned a private. Afterwards, he was a failure as a businessman. As a lawyer in Springfield, he was criticized for being impractical and temperamental to ever be a success. When he turned to politics, he was defeated in his first try for the legislature, and again defeated in his first attempt to be nominated for Congress. Defeated in his application to be commissioner of the General Land Office. Defeated in the senatorial election of 1854. Defeated in his efforts for the vice presidency in 1856. and defeated in another senatorial election in 1858. Imagine if Abraham Lincoln had had that fixed mindset. I'm awful, I'm dumb, I'm not smart enough, I'll never be a success. Abraham Lincoln had a growth mindset, learned from each failure, and continued to persevere and be resilient, and continued to try to reach his goals. Malcolm Gladwell has the rule in one of his books, I'll share at the end in the bibliography, the 10,000 hour rule. When he looked at people who were successful in their fields, they had one thing in common, and one thing only. They spent 10,000 hours learning and internalizing and perfecting their crafts. It wasn't their ability that they had this innate ability. It was time and effort spent learning and internalizing, perfecting craft. So Malcolm Gladwell looks at sports players. It wasn't their ability necessarily, but it was the effort. They had opportunity to practice at an early age, and they put in time and effort to get better. Effort is what counts. Another idea to help children understand this is to really make the brain, help them understand what is happening in their brains. Explain how it works. Look on YouTube and put in how the brain works. Many videos will come up that show pictures of neurons. Show them pictures and say those are neurons in your brain. And you can grow new pathways and more connections as we learn. We even know now that that learning continues way into adulthood, that we're constantly building new neurons. They're firing. As they practice and exert effort, the brain is actually growing and getting bigger. We're building those neural pathways. Show them that. Talk about that. I'll often tell my youngest child, I'll say, after she's working at something and putting in effort, I can see the neurons firing in your brain. Your brain is growing and getting bigger, to help her feel what it's like and understand that she's actually affecting her brain by putting in her effort and practicing. So imagine two students, both get a poor grade. They both feel angry, sad, and disappointed. After a few days, their similarities end. They take different paths. Lisa picks herself up. She finds a tutor and commits to making a greater effort in math going forward. She shows a growth mindset. Same thing happens to both students. Two different results. Lisa, growth mindset, picks herself up, gets herself a tutor, has an action plan, knows she needs to put more effort. Meanwhile, Jenny tumbles into a downward spiral of negativity. She sulks. She not only starts performing poorly in math, she then starts performing poorly in all of her other subjects. She has a fixed mindset. Why the same adversity with different results? The biggest impact on our cognition, our thinking, is the way we think. Every adversity one faces triggers our beliefs about that situation, which in turn causes a reaction or a consequence. So I'll often tell my children when they've lost the soccer game or the hockey game, they haven't done well in something, it's okay to feel bad. But it's not okay to continue to feel bad. You feel bad and then say, okay, that didn't go as well as it needed to or I wanted it to. What do I do next? What do I learn from this failure? How do I continue to improve as a student, as a baseball player, as a dancer, and think about ways to make myself better and improve, put more effort, more practice for the next time, use different strategies. So your turn. What do you think? Your child comes home with 100% on their test. Your child did not study. He already knew all the material. It was too easy. What do you say? Do you praise? You did a good job on your test. Do you praise the studying? They didn't study. I already knew the material. It was too easy. There's nothing really here to praise. Child already knew the material. It was too easy. They got 100%. Question might be, how can we challenge you for next time? Your child comes home with a very good report card. He's been doing all of this homework and reading his textbooks every night, even on the weekends. What do you say? Here there's been a lot of effort. I like the way you've read every night. I've liked the way you ask questions of your teachers. I like the way you used a lot of strategies, and the end result here is your grades. Those strategies helped improve your grades. I'm proud of you for putting in the effort and the time. Your child strikes out at bat every time for the last 5 baseball games. He hates baseball. He throws the bat when he strikes out. Sometimes he cries. He goes to practice every day and listens to his coach. What do you say? It's actually happened to me and my son. This is hard. And he would often say, I want to quit baseball. And I knew he loved baseball. And he was going to practice every day, and he was listening to his coach. So we talked about what else do we need to do to get better. We talked about strategies for how to hit the ball. I said to him, why don't you ask your dad to take you for extra practice? Why don't we listen to how to hit the ball? And when he finally did listen and used all those strategies and he was able to hit the ball and he didn't strike out, I would praise that effort. You did such a great job listening to how to position your feet, where to place the bat, how to watch the ball, and you were able to hit the ball. I'm proud of you for listening to your coaches. I'm proud of you for practicing. I'm proud of you for persevering and putting in the effort. Here are some articles that will help you read more about the topic. And I'd recommend these books. Malcolm Gladwell is the one who talked about the 10,000-hour rule, that those who are very successful in their field put in time and effort, and that's what made them successful, not this innate ability. Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, How We Can Learn to Fulfill Our Potential, is a great book. She describes her research with those 5th graders. It's a research that she has also duplicated with different groups, college kids, adults. In this book, she has a chapter working with children as parents and coaches, teachers, a chapter on business and work. It's filled with lots of stories about people who persevered, many of which I read. Those short little stories of people who had persevered, I read to my own children and shared and discussed with them. A great book also that uses research to talk about the way we raise our children, Nurture Shock, New Thinking About Children, is a great book. Another great book that talks about developing grit, perseverance, and developing the character of our children is How Children Succeed. I'd like to leave you with a short video that shows perseverance and growth mindset for you to think about. I'll warn you that every time I've watched it, it makes me cry. I've also shared it with my own children. Things don't always work out the way you'd like. Derek Redmond was favored to medal in the Olympic 400-meter sprint. 150 meters into the race, Derek felt a searing pain. In agony, he fell to the ground with a torn hamstring. Not willing to give up, determined to finish the race, he continued. Breaking through security, a man came to Derek's side. It was his father. "You don't have to do this," he told his son. "Yes, I do," he replied. "Well, then we're going to finish this together." Together, father and son continued. Isn't this what we want for our children? I know it's something I want for my children, is that when failure and challenges come their way, as children, as teenagers and adults, that I will be there to hold them up, but in the end, they will finish the race and continue and persevere across those challenges that they will be faced. And the best way to prepare them for that is to start early as children, praise their effort, develop a sense of resiliency and perseverance and a belief that their effort, their practice is what counts and not any innate ability. Thank you for your time.